Go ahead and use. All right. Good day, everyone. A heartfelt thank you to everyone for joining us. I am Nicole Jackson, Director of Education with SIEGE, that's Center for Engagement, Environmental Justice, and Health. And it is my honor to welcome you to our Climate Justice Fellows Final Assignment Showcase. Started in 2023, Climate Justice Fellows Program is a virtual training and implementation program designed to educate individuals on essential themes and tenets of environmental and climate justice. Candidates demonstrate a commitment to EJ issues and have a deep connection to frontline and frontline communities, better known as EJ communities. Fellows increase their awareness of environmental and climate issues, as well as develop skills to empower their own communities affected by environmental injustices. The fellowship program consists of individuals who progress through an intense curriculum with 10 to 13 modules and a capstone project addressing EJ or CJ challenges, with senior fellows from select previous cohorts expanding their projects, delivering presentations, conducting research, writing, and or working closely with Siege Inc. staff. Having formerly served as a fellow in the first cohort and senior fellow in the second cohort, this year I am proud to have redesigned the program to be more practical and global oriented, as well as include new modules. As a core part of this new approach, everything is centered on real world applications that we at Siege like to call empowerment science frameworks. And that's empowerment with INPOWERMENT. So, empowerment science includes community based participatory research, citizen science, community owned and managed research principles, and the collaborative problem solving model with a focus on equitable planning, healthy zoning, and sustainable community development. Throughout the program, our fellows engage with assignments rooted in actual case studies, and were consistently encouraged to adopt and tailor the work to specific needs and contexts within their own communities. This philosophy culminates in the final assignments you will see today. In a significant shift from previous years, we challenged our fellows to proactively propose and develop their own initiatives, moving beyond traditional capstone projects. But their learning wasn't theoretical. They rolled up their sleeves, they dove into technical work alongside Siege staff and on current projects, from policy analysis and air quality monitoring to developing educational content for our upcoming symposium, well, our just previous past symposium as well. And this year, this practice-based model helped us to implement on an unprecedented scale, marking the first time we expanded the fellowship across our global network. We were thrilled this year to welcome a diverse cohort of remarkable talent from across 16 different countries. This incredible diversity has profoundly enriched our discussions, helped us to broaden our own understanding of how we're all connected and how environmental impacts affect our communities in immeasurable ways, but yet interconnected ways across the globe. If you or anyone you know are interested in applying for next year's cohort, please contact us at fellows@siege.org, and applications will open this month, and we will be sure to forward an application to you. We'll also have two information sessions this year, one on November 10th at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and one on December 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The presentation you are about to see today is a testament to our fellow's dedication, creativity, and his global perspective. I'm going to ask everyone to please keep your questions until the end, and feel free to put questions either in the Q&A box or the chat, and we will get to those at the end. So it is my pleasure to introduce our global fellow today, Kevin Hernandez. Kevin is based in Brookfield, Illinois, and is finishing up a master's in public administration from Villanova University. He is focusing on nonprofit management And he is a graduate of University of Illinois at Chicago, where he studied marketing and communications. His experiences are in the intersections of politics and climate. Most recently, he helped lead When We All Vote texting mobilization efforts, where he supported volunteers to reach over 12 million voters across the United States. Excuse me. He was part of Mercy for Animals, LEAFS Fellowship, and Azul's 2024 Rising Leaders Initiative. Throughout his work at Green 2.0, he wrote Embracing Your Heritage Doesn't Mean You Need to Eat Meat, where he advocated for embracing a plant-based diet by connecting his Mexican heritage to the environmental effects of animal consumption. In his free time, Kevin likes to find himself enjoying nature, cooking a plant-based recipe, or spending time with his pets. And he is based in the suburbs of Chicago, as I mentioned. So without further ado, please help me welcome our global fellow, Kevin Hernandez.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today, and I'm super excited to present with all of you. So, perfect. I'm Kevin Hernandez, and this is my digital environmental justice campaign. So, for this assignment, I created the Cook County Water Justice Coalition, given that I do live in the largest county in Illinois, and I really wanted to make sure that I tackled water justice. Given my previous water policy experience, I really wanted to expand and talk about my community. So, here are some key facts that I think all of you should know. I don't know how familiar each of you are with Cook County, Illinois, but I do want to highlight some important facts so you kind of get a better understanding of what I want to be talking about today.
If
So,
I may
Cook County,
interject for a moment, Kevin, your sound um, quality has diminished from when we were testing.
is this better?
Very slightly. I'm not sure if it's your earbuds, but it didn't sound like that before.
Um, okay, is this better?
Yes, it's better.
Okay. So Cook County, Illinois is the second most populous county in the United States. So there's over a quarter of residents are Hispanic and or Latino, but there's also a lot of disparities present on the west and south sides of the county. So, for example, 87% of flood damage claims were paid in communities of color. There's also beach access fees in the northern suburbs. So although the Chicago public beaches are completely free to access once we leave the city of Chicago, and enter into those northern suburbs, we do see very high fees. There was a report that I was reading that said for a family of four, it could cost up to $500 for one day in some private beaches. So that's completely unacceptable. Our water should be accessible to everyone. And there's also higher exposure to environmental health hazards as a result of industry as well. So the audience that we're going to be focusing on, I did mention that disparities that are present on the south and west sides. So our focus is on those Black and brown communities in those parts of the county. And so part of this campaign is to highlight and acknowledge the root causes of these problems. We are not trying to put the blame on the community. We want to put the blame on the redlining that has happened, industry pollution, and political machines that have caused these problems. But we also, as an organization, want to build trust with the community. We're going to have interviews with these people. We're going to make sure that they're involved. And so we want to make sure that we build their trust. We're not trying to come in as outsiders and tell people what to do. We want to learn aside the community. And so we want to highlight stories that resonate with people, stories that make people feel seen, and that the stories that we tell feel authentic. And we also want to embrace difference, recognizing that communities, even if they may be neighboring, may not necessarily have the same problems, and the solutions that we work with might not work for everyone as well. So overall, the coalition's goals are to inform, engage, and mobilize residents of Cook County to understand the importance and need for water justice. So there's four different goals that I'm going to be highlighting in this campaign. So for our English social media pages, we want to reach 1,000 followers combined. And so we're going to have TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram as our main three platforms. In the future, we might expand to other platforms such as Snapchat, Blue Sky, and Twitter. But for now, I think those are the main three that are going to really make sure that we make our presence known. Like I also mentioned, there's a very large Spanish speaking population in the county. So we want to make sure that we're accessible to these people. And so we're going to create those same social media pages, but with Spanish language. And so for those, we want to reach 500 followers combined. And in the future, I would love to be able to expand this even more to include other languages so that we really make sure that the information we provide and share is accessible to as much people as possible. So we also want to host 3 in-person events with over 300 residents in attendance combined across all of them. So this could be advocacy days in Springfield, community listening sessions. Even if they are in person, we definitely would have a virtual option for those who need that accessibility. But also just overall community building events, events where people could connect and meet each other and really build that sense of community that we need to also just process the things that are going on in our communities. We also want to create 3 formal partnerships with organizations that are doing similar water justice work in the area. And I think the difficulty with partnerships a lot of the times can be that there's differing missions, and we want to make sure that the organizations that we choose are definitely going to align with our own values as an organization and, understand the disparities that are present in our communities. So, for example, we could partner with regional organizations such as the Alliance for the Great Lakes, or more local organizations such as Friends of the Chicago River, which already have an established relationship with the community. So there is 5 content pillars that I created, but I do want to acknowledge that as the coalition, kind of expands and grows and really builds more connections with the community, these pillars are going to be changing because the problems that we have in our communities, there's going to be different stuff that are prioritized, different needs that we need, and so these pillars are really just the basic stuff that is going on relating to water justice, but also recognizing that as an organization, we really want to grow and build and learn from the community. So we're going to be talking about flooding and rainfall, water contamination, rights to shore, infrastructure, but also just general community building, listening, and advocacy. We think that these 5 pillars really highlight the main water problem issues that we're having, but also recognizing that environmental justice is different for everyone in the communities that we're going to be helping. And so these are just the basic kind of main areas of focus. So I created 2 sample TikToks for all of you today. I'm going to start off by playing the one on the left that's in English, and then I'll play the one on the right in Spanish. And then I'll talk a little bit more about my thought process as well. So for this TikTok, it's very simple. It uses footage from Lake Michigan that I took, and it just has on the text, the summer everyone had access to the beach. So this is very simple, and that was very intentional by me. I, first of all, don't want to overwhelm people with content on social media and just a bunch of text. But I also wanted to use audio that was trending and trends that would help boost this onto people's For You page. Not necessarily because I think virality is important, but because I think this would be a great starter for people to learn more about the organization. And so by using that text, the summer everyone had access to the beach, I hope that the audience would begin to question, does everyone not have access to the beach? What can I do to make sure that everyone does have access to the beach? And so hopefully that TikTok would help people go on our platform, follow us on social media, learn more about how to get involved with us. And so now I'm going to play the one in Spanish, and it's okay if you do not understand Spanish, because I'm going to be explaining a little bit more about what this one says as well. So this video was inspired by the advocacy that I've done in Washington, D.C., in ocean advocacy, and wanting to recreate that experience for the people in Cook County to advocate for the communities in Springfield. And so this is recruiting people to join us in Springfield for our advocacy day and really using footage that I felt really captured the community building, that just that feeling of connection that I've built in these advocacy days. And I think that it's really beneficial when you're giving the tools to feel empowered and share your story with the elected officials and their teams. And so for this footage, although a lot of it is from DC, I do think that we could use footage from Springfield and really make sure that these videos really reflect the accurate information, but also it's not super text heavy I feel like it flows very nicely as well. And again, linking them to our bio so that they can learn more, they can sign up and really join us for the advocacy day. So moving on to our Instagram carousel. So this is a four-part carousel Instagram post. So it starts off by saying that Illinois needs legislation that makes our water accessible. And so they can swipe to learn more. And so I highlight two bills. One of them is a bill that focuses on creating a task force for the Lake Michigan beach public use, which reviews um, collaboration and really access issues that are happening, which I mentioned earlier. And so that is a really important bill that I would love for people to um, support because it is in committee right now. So hopefully it moves forward as a result of the people supporting it and showing and telling their elected officials that they care about this bill. And the other bill that I highlight is an Illinois waterway bill that would open up more rivers and streams for public access. So as a result, thousands of miles of water would become open for public use. And so with this, I also wanted to keep it simple. So I only included two bills because I don't want people to be overwhelmed with information, but also, again, linking them to our bio because I think that when you use Instagram, we can't necessarily just put like links to so many websites. It's just easier for people to click on the link in our bio and then be directed to the proper links and websites that we want to tell them to. And so with this, we want people to be able to message their state representatives, whether that's by calling them or sending them an email or writing letters, but also encouraging people to tell their stories, right? We don't want hundreds of people sending the same exact message, but also kind of giving them a starting point for those who maybe don't know how to get started. And so, really, with this post, I want to make sure that people are aware of maybe a bill that they didn't know was in committee right now and just overall bring awareness to issues that I think need support on. And so with that, I want to thank all of you for listening to my presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. You did a great job. Does anyone have any questions for Kevin before I jump in?
I have a question, Miss Nicole.
Yes, go right ahead.
Sorry, I'm in the train station. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. I just wanted to know if you could talk more about the beaches that are north of the city. I'm kind of surprised to hear that they're private beaches and that they cost for folks to be able to patron those beaches if they're in the city.
Yeah, so Cook County is um you know what? Let me pull up a map that I have for my report, as I think that's going to be easier to help you understand.
Yeah, that map that you have in your report is a great visual, Kevin. Great question, Alana.
Okay, so this is Cook County, and so Lake Michigan is right here in this area, and so Chicago, we're about right here and under. And so this is really focused on the beaches that are not free. So, for example, these are really rich suburbs that are very white affluent as well. And so, if we look at like the medium home income, $600,000, over $500,000. For example, here in Winnetka, over $1 million. And so these are highly exclusionary labeled. And so for these, they use it as like ways for to be exclusive for the community, right? For these millionaires who are able to own these really big homes to have access to these beaches. And so for me, when I first learned about this, first of all, you see here it says that depending on like the size of the circle, it could be up to free, up to $600 for a family. And so those in red are highly exclusionary and it costs up to $600. And so that's completely unacceptable. And so they also use the messaging of like, we need to help clean up these beaches and like this is going to help make sure that everyone has access to clean beaches. And so they use that language that makes it seem like it's fine to, you know, charge these horrible high amounts. And so really I think that by talking about that legislation that people do not have access to the beaches and making sure that our waterways are made public, I think that's one of the bills that I would really love to see passed. But definitely I think people don't I know that for me, I've never been to one of these private beaches. And so I've always been to the free ones in Chicago. And so for me, I think that that's an issue also that I don't think a lot of people recognize because they're so used to going to the ones that are free. And so, yeah, when I read about this, I was really surprised. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of work that for sure needs to be done.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Alana, okay, I see a thumbs up from Alana. I see a question for you from Miriam. Miriam, feel free to come off mute with your question.
Hello, and thank you, Kevin, for excellent presentation. I wonder how you will evaluate the impact of your media messages.
Yeah, so I think that for me, at first, like the first weeks, we want to really just focus on followers, just because I want to get a sense of like what the social media impressions would be. And then I think once like the first 4 weeks are done, that's where we could focus on like impressions, shares, and stuff like that. And so for at first, I definitely want to just focus on building the follower count, but also recognizing that that's like not the most important thing. The most important thing is that these people take action. And so ideally we would measure this by, measuring the amount of clicks that we had in our bio and traffic to our website. But also like when we have petitions, when we have action items, measuring how many people those are to really get a starting point to determine the success for the future. I think that in the beginning, there's definitely, with starting a new social media page, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty with like numbers and stuff. And I think it's going to look all over the place. But really using these 4 weeks as a way to start measuring and kind of navigating a baseline for how we measure success in the future.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Kevin? No? Well, okay. Kevin, I do have a question for you. So in terms of like um long-term vision for adaptation and doing this type of content, um, what is the first new content pillar or campaign issue that you would want to tackle in like following months?
Yeah, I think that infrastructure needs to it was very simplified for me, I think, just talking about infrastructure. And so I would love to talk about our flooding systems and just the way that the overflow, it's not really supported. I'd also love to talk about um, lead pipes. And, I know that there's a lot of communities that are already in the process of replacing that, but talking about the results and what can we get to make sure that every community gets their lead pipes replaced, I think those are some starts. But yeah, I think a focus on infrastructure more is something that I would love to pursue further.
Thanks. And then one final question for me. I love how you talked about not wanting to, overwhelm the audience with the content, and also like you weren't thinking about virability, like going viral. So I think that's important. You just wanted to make sure you got a message across and got a point across. One thing I did want to ask though, how um could you possibly walk us through how you would tailor the content? You talked about TikTok, you talked about Instagram, but how would you tailor the content for the same core message, for example, about water affordability that resonated differently between young adults on TikTok and younger people versus longtime home owners and older individuals like on that we all know they use Facebook more often. So how would you tailor the same message?
Yeah, and so I think that for TikTok, since we would be targeting a younger audience, trying to limit the content to like 15 to 30 seconds. And so ideally, we talk about issues of just like affordability in general and the cost of living for young people. But I think that if we were doing it on Facebook, also, I think that a lot of older older audiences tend to like commenting a lot and sharing their own thoughts. And so I think opening it up for discussion of like how much has your bill, have you seen like your water cost increase, and just tell stories so that people could see similarities of like, oh yeah, this person said that and I see myself in their story as well. And so I think that if we're like doing Facebook, I think with an older audience, there should be a focus on getting their opinions through the comment section. Well, if it's like TikTok, it's probably just going to get engagements to the link in our bio. But I think that overall, the message does need to be that, you know, whether you're young, whether you've been a homeowner for years, you care about wanting to spend the least amount of money because you don't have the chances are that you're not a millionaire who has all the money in the world to spend. So you know, keeping that overall message of yes, we want to save costs and we'll make sure that everyone has access to clean water. But yeah, I think that's what I envision Facebook to be more open for storytelling than TikTok or Instagram.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Does anyone have any more questions for Kevin? Okay. So if no more questions for Kevin, Kevin, I do want to say thank you again. You had an excellent presentation. I did want to shout out a few people. Miss Jaquila, I think she hopped off. We had one of our partner guests today. Miss Jaquila is from Tanzania, and she, texted me during your presentation, said, it was very well informed and she enjoyed it. And then I see here we have Ms. Joan Collins, who is Director of Lay Activities for the Second District AME Church, and who happens to be one of my fellow church members. And she loves learning all about things climate. So I'm glad she's here to join us today. And just thanks to the rest of the fellows who are here to support you today. Do you have any last words, Kevin, before we disperse?
I just want to thank everyone, and yeah, I'm definitely open to connect with anyone if you found similarities in our communities. But yeah, I definitely think that water justice is a big issue here in Cook County, and yeah, I'm going to be doing all I can to help continue fighting this cause. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Kevin, you can look forward to Vanessa and I reaching out to you to help us tailor some of and edit some of our module content, because we would love to include more information about water justice in the cohort for next year. All right. And with that said, I want to thank everybody, but also remind everyone that we have another presentation tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. We'll be hearing presentations from Mohammed Salah, who is from Tunisia, Germani Overby, Antonio Hernandez, and Octavia Nettles, who are all in the Mid-Atlantic region. They will be sharing their final presentations tomorrow. So thanks, everybody.